Hello, everyone. I am here with Tasha Blackman. She is one of the most amazing expert marketers that I've come across that I've just recently got to know. So, Tasha, if you can let us know more about you, your background, kind of the cool things you've been doing on your side, because I know you've worked with a lot of our favorite brands. So, let us
Awesome.
more.
Yeah. So first of all, China, thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited to talk about our conversation about retail, e-commerce brands, and how video is a part of that customer journey. But just me background, I'm Tasha Blackman. I'm the founder of Blackman Digital Consulting, which is a marketing advisory, and we provide hands-on senior level marketing leadership that really bridges that span between like enterprise level marketing and practical execution. I
Mm,
work with brand founders and retailers and e-commerce brands that really sit in that space of like beauty, apparel, fashion, lifestyle brands, and really about, they're experiencing stall growth, or maybe they might be overwhelmed by all the marketing choices that are out there, and they're looking for this marketing framework, and they've got a lot of tactics, but they're like, how do we make it all fit together so I can drive more revenue? Make customers come back and ultimately build brand loyalty.
mhm.
I'm a former marketing executive at Macy's, Lord and Taylor, Francesca's, and I've worked with brands, within that space from the Ralph Lauren to the Chanel and Dior Beauty to the all most of the Estee Lauder company brands and really helped grow them in that retail space. So today I help brands really develop their own marketing strategy so that they can really thrive in, this modern retail world because as you and I know, the retail world is continuously changing. Something that was said to be true 2 to 3 years ago, it's like, what are you doing today? Because it
Good
definitely
time.
should not be that exact thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm really excited to talk more about, what's going on in the retail, landscape. How are you leveraging, marketing and especially video, which is so
Mhm.
important right now.
Yeah. You know what? I was so excited to have this conversation because I think we have to take it back a little bit. And that is, what does marketing look like in the retail space? I think a lot of times we think we know what it is, but you as an expert, what does that even look like? And what is the ROI of any type of marketing that you want to do in that space?
Yeah, so within the retail space, and just to break it out into pieces, so when we talk about retail, I'm talking about brands that, they have like brick and mortar stores, they have their e-commerce website. So you have customers that might be shopping across both of the channels, or maybe you're an e-commerce D2C brand as well.
Mhm.
And I would say within the retail landscape, there's what you see as a customer. It's all the beautiful ads and the campaign and the imagery. It's the product you touch. But to me, the other exciting part is the stuff that's the back end. It's the stuff that you don't see,
Right.
and I get really excited in this space when a customer feels seen. They're like, oh my God, they sent me this email and it makes total sense. Like, how did they know I was going to a wedding? Or how did they know I was doing this?
Hmm.
Or how do they know I was looking for like this perfect shoe? So for me, it's a lot of the data that's on the back end that really drives a lot of the strategy and a lot of the tactics that
Okay.
a customer is seeing.
Okay.
It can be down to the level of personalization. It's about, how also moving the customer through that, marketing funnel and understand what their shopping intention is at that time.
Mhm.
Because there might be a point where you're so upper funnel where you're thinking about something, but then you're continuously looking for that item and then you get served up. Whoa, this is what I needed, and the customer converts. So
Yeah.
it's really a lot of the things I always like to tell brands the stuff that really grows your brand, it's the stuff that's also behind the scenes. It's the data, it's
Um,
the, all the different stuff of understanding that customer journey. It's, on your website, what are those friction points and solving for it so that you can get the customer to conversion. It's also when you're in the retail store, the customer experience that you get from helping you choose the right product, getting you all the way to the register.
Okay, so you touched on a lot of things I gotta go I gotta go back to. Number one is data, right? Because I think a lot of people we want to capture data, but we don't know how to use data in order for our customers to choose better decisions on how they interact with our brand, right? So as a retail expert, a marketing expert, what type of data do we need to be paying attention to in order to create that personalized experience for our shopper that's going to convert them into buying from our brand?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always say, like, if you're not looking at your data, you're just leaving a lot of money on the table at the end
Hmm.
of the day.
Hmm.
And in terms of the things that you should be looking at, it's one, what are your customers buying to begin with,
Okay.
right? So as an example, let's say you're a brand and you're like, oh my God, this is like a great bestseller. People are buying it. I'm a believer if something is working, put a lot of energy behind the thing that's working. Because oftentimes as a retailer, you may be like, oh, this isn't selling. Let's put a ton of energy behind it. But it's
Hmm.
like, no one wants it. Why are we doing that?
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So an example could be something as simple as we're seeing that these style of items are selling really quickly. How do we create a campaign around best sellers as an example and push that forward and then put secondary items to support it? So as an example, it might be these dresses are on fire, but guess what? If you love this dress, you need to buy these shoes, these handbags, these earrings, and all those different things. So you're using a data point that says this works, but how do I show them other items so that I can stretch their basket size? So that's a higher AOV, it's a higher IPT, and then you can also put things that are maybe higher margin priced products, right?
Okay.
Like you're not going to be putting your clearance stuff, so you're getting them to buy fresh goods that's happening so that you can obviously increase the basket size and the long-term value of this client over time. Other things you should be looking at is how much time are people spending on your website?
Okay. Okay.
If you see that people are like bouncing all the time, it's like, okay, as a consumer, if someone gets here, clearly whatever you show them showed enough interest for them to come to the website. But if in half a second they're like, goodbye, it's you got to look at what is on that homepage. Where did you drive them to
Okay.
as well? Do you have, something they're looking for and they just can't find it? So
Mhm.
those are all data points, and there's so many, but it's about looking at the customer journey and where you see that they're dropping off, because
Yeah.
the ultimate goal is to get them to convert at the end of the day and not just convert, come back again.
So one question I have with that is how long, especially in the retail space, right? How
Mhm.
long do you want your customer to be looking at your website? Is there a number? Because I know on regular websites, it's 10 to 15 seconds you have to get them glued, right? What is it in the retail space? Is it different or is it the
So
same?
it's not necessarily a specific number. The goal is the more time we can get you to engage with the content, the more time you're going to spend with it, and the more likely you are to make a purchase.
Got it.
So depending on the category you're in, let's say you're in beauty,
Hmm.
you may have product that's a system.
Okay.
It's about the cleanser. It's about, let's say, the serums. It's about the moisturizer. It might be about the sunscreen. Maybe you have makeup. It's how do you take that customer through that journey so that they can see all those different things, but not just that, focusing on the features and the benefits. And this is where video becomes so important.
Hmm.
When I see certain categories and I go onto their website, I'm like, yes, you've got video. That means I'm going to spend more time with you, right? Because
Hmm.
like videos are great because it's like your digital storefront.
Yeah.
When someone is in a store, they get to touch, they get to feel, they get to talk to someone. On
Hmm.
your website, that's not necessarily always so apparent to the customer. So it's how do you bring that in-person experience and start building trust and expertise and confidence with them really quickly. And I think videos are a really great way to get them to spend even more time on your website so that they, even if I don't purchase today, now you have more information, again, the data piece about that
Hmm.
customer to
Hmm.
target them again and
Yeah.
bring them back and get them to convert.
What you said that I think we need to really hone into is that you need to create the same experience you have in person on your website. And I think a
Yes.
lot of people don't understand that how, your website should be interactive. It should be people talking about you, right? Because I think when it comes to retail and e-commerce, the best people to talk about you are your customers, right? I could say I'm an amazing brand and I have the best beauty brand, beauty products. But if someone is vouching for me and saying that, that's going to sell way more than me saying it myself. So I love how you said creating that in-person experience where you can talk to the other customers, you can talk to the store clerk, and bringing that to your website. I think is crucial in how people relate to your brand, you know?
Absolutely. And listen, it sounds very easy in theory, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, just take whatever is in store and build it on your e-commerce. But it's definitely a lot more challenging than that. But it definitely should be on the dot on the wall. Because I think about, think about like your favorite store and when you walk into it and how they create that feeling of urgency where you're like, I want everything in here right now. Like I just want to be irresponsible and buy everything and walk out with all the bags.
Yeah.
So it's how do you and also in store, you get to tell the story a lot easier, right? Brand storytelling, customer experience. You walk in, oh, hey, what type of things do you normally like to wear? Oh my God, you love to wear skirts. We've got this great collection. How do you translate that into online? And it's part of your brand storytelling, right?
Hmm.
It's, you go onto a site and there's some sites that do a really great job of romancing you
Hmm.
and you
Hmm.
feel that you are in this world and you're like, wow, this is exactly like the store experience. And a lot of that is a clear brand messaging and positioning,
Hmm.
the language that you use, your copy connects with the customer, but oftentimes there's visuals there and
Hmm.
not just static visuals, there's the video component of it, right? I
Hmm.
think about, if you're like a fragrance brand and you're showing the customer that, oh my God, we grow like all of our rose in like, the south of France, and you're telling them that story. And then you've got supporting video testimonials where customers are saying, oh my God, this fragrance smells incredible. I smell the rose. I smell the this. I smell the that, especially, in that category, like I personally myself, I don't like to buy fragrances blind. Like I
Okay.
need to know what that top, middle, and bottom note is.
Hmm.
And so you look at a ton of video content, they're like, oh, this
It smells
stands out,
like.
that stands out. And
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I trust this person because they know fragrances, they know how to speak about it, right? So it's
Yeah.
almost like that person that's showing the video testimonial is replacing the person that works in the shop that's super knowledgeable. So
Mm-hmm.
you're already building trust. You're like, okay, great. So as a customer, I'm now narrowing down my choices and I'm going to look at a couple of them. And
Hmm.
I'm going to say, okay, I feel good about what I'm going to get myself into when I purchase this item. I'm just going to buy it because the goal is like the closer you can get the customer to understand what the product is, especially from an apparel perspective. You and I know there's one thing to show a dress like just like as a flat lay, but when you
Hmm.
see it on a person, you're like, oh, is that how that dress
Yeah,
moves?
yeah.
Okay, that's not for me. Oh, that dress is kind of sheer. Okay, that's
Oh,
not
this
for
doesn't.
me.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
as a brand, you're like, okay, that's one less return we're gonna get. Unless, the customer's like, oh, perfect, that's exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So video helps you do that as well.
And I love how you said that because it's the real customer, right? You know they're not paid to say anything. So you're really looking out for words of kind of how they really relate to the product. And I think that's what converts the best when it comes to why we think video is so authentic and relatable when it comes from your real customer. But with that being
Exactly.
said, another question I have is in the retail space, right? What do you think are the best ways for the retail brands to capture video content and testimonials that they can use on their website or their social? Or even in store? Like, what are some ways
Yeah,
you've seen work?
Yeah, there are lots of different ways. I always say, like, if you have a brick and mortar store, that is wonderful because that's a great way to drive your traffic back to your website.
Hmm.
So you could do things like if you're having an in-store event or if you're hosting a pop-up of some sort, it's a great way to have people with a simple QR code make it easy. Be like, oh my God, we'd love your testimonial on this. Are you cool with that?
Hmm.
If you're in store and you have receipt tape, we always say like, put a message at the bottom because some customers are looking at that as well. That's another way that you can do it. You can utilize like your fitting rooms to put the QR code, like, hey, while you're in here trying this on, do you love it? Like, why
Yeah.
don't you tell other people that you love it? You can also leverage like your digital channels, like email as well to do that. I think a really cool way would be in your post-purchase, let's say email journey, as part of like collecting your testimonials, it's like, oh my God, you purchased this item over a week ago, tell us how you feel about it, and maybe you incentivize them with something as
Hmm.
well to provide that with you, and as well as your social channels. So there's different ways, even if you're just an e-commerce brand and you don't have a physical presence or you do pop-ups, there's a way to leverage it within your existing tactics
Hmm.
that you can drive collecting the content that you can leverage in other places. So then you can take all that video content and do an email and say, these are what people are saying about this item and why they love it.
Yeah. And another strategy that I really like is when they put it in their boxing, like when they mail the package off, and they can have a
Ah, that's a good
QR code
one.
there, right? Scan it.
Yeah.
Just know how you unbox our fragrance, or like show us
Yeah.
how the outfit looks. Those are just easy ways because people are going to try this stuff on. So you want to
Yeah.
get those aha moments where people are excited, so you can get that real emotion on camera. and then be able to repurpose.
Absolutely.
Those are a lot of good gems that I think retail owners and brands can
Absolutely.
utilize, you know.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think when you're in the retail world, you have so many touch points to the customer. So there's ways to really leverage that so that you're driving conversion. Like it just doesn't stop when the person gets the item. So the postcard in the box is another great way to do that.
Yeah. So now that we know how to capture the content. So we got the video, right? From the QR code, from the email after they purchase. So what are the best ways to repurpose the content? Because I notice a lot of retail brands we work with, they'll get so much content in their dashboard, right? But they're like they don't know how to repurpose it. That's why they have to bring
Yeah.
you in so they can tell them they should market the content that they're capturing. But what are some strategies they can really get a ROI from the videos they're capturing from their customers?
Yeah, one place I love to see video content is on the PDP, on the product description page on
Okay.
e-commerce site,
Okay.
because when you have product, there's different ways you can show it. There's the studio shot, which you're gonna do, which shows the product as it is, and the customer needs to see that. But I love when there are also lifestyle shots because there's great way to show it in situation in an environment, how it invokes motion. And video is another way to do that. I love to see it on a homepage, especially if you're a beauty brand.
Okay.
Like if you're a beauty brand and it's like a color product, and a color product, I mean like a foundation, a blush, a lipstick. I want to see it on someone that may look like me because I want to know how does it actually show up in real time. So
Okay.
your website is a great way to leverage that. You can repurpose it organically on your social channels just to
Mhm.
show people, but you can also use it as part of your paid strategy as well to
Mhm.
bring people back in and also retarget them if you know that's a product that they're looking for.
Mhm.
And I particularly love it in like emails. We know that whenever you do a testimonial type of email where it's like they love us and you're able to substantiate why customers love this item, it's a great way to put it in that channel as well. So
Okay.
definitely an email, definitely on your website, definitely within your organic and paid channels as well. It's a great way to
Okay.
use video content.
Now, what's your
And
ultimate?
also, if you have a store, another one, if you have a store and you have like a video screen and there's a great way to organically
Mm.
integrate it as well, that's another good one that
Oh,
you can use.
I love that. Even if it's just the visuals of people talking, and then you can go into
Yes.
a website where all the testimonials will live. Because the visual I think is the most important thing when it comes to marketing in a sense. Because if you got me
Hmm.
visually, I'm gonna be tuned in automatically, So
Right.
I
Right.
love I love that you pointed that out. Now, what's your ultimate favorite, you would say? If you had to choose
It,
one of your favorite repurposing of content and that you've seen the biggest ROI just from brands you've worked with, from your own
email.
brand. Email.
Email. I'm gonna say
Really?
email. I say email. It's actually one of my favorite marketing tactics. I love them all. I will say that. They all serve their purpose when used strategically, and especially when you align it and it works together with your marketing strategy, which supports your business goal. But the reason why with my clients, I always say, let's build out our email channel. It's because it's owned. That's customer data that you own.
Mm-hmm.
That so we've seen in past when other third-party platforms have gone down, where did brands go to say, hey, we're still open for business? They went to their email channel because
Yeah.
it's one to one. I can email you, China. I can find out everything I know about you.
Yeah.
And it's you can do all these things from the moment a customer enters your brand, you build that customer journey with them. It's that welcome email, it's a series, it's getting you to retarget. I know oftentimes people say, I can't stand all those emails I get. There are too many, but someone's opening them, right?
They are.
Or you
They
put or
are.
you put a pair of shoes in your like basket and you're like, I'm gonna come back to that, but then you forget. And
Yeah.
then there's that email that reminds you, and customers like, oh, let me open this up and finish the transaction. But I also love that it's a great way to tell the story of your brand continuously
Okay.
as well, whether it's editorial email, whether it's you're launching a new product and you're telling them all of the features and benefits about the product. It's about, keeping in touch with your client. I love when I always tell brands, are you talking to your customers? And by that, I mean not selling them, but checking in with them with a survey. It's like, how are things going?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What can we improve on? What are things you'd love to see? Because oftentimes when you ask your client, your customers, like, what would you love to see? There's like really cool, really good, interesting things
Insight.
that comes out of it
Yeah.
because they're like, that's how you make sometimes realize there's something in your process that's not working for
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
as well. Or it may give you a germ of a nugget that turns into something else. So using it to survey your customers or especially, one of the things I've done at other brands, it's like we're getting ready to launch something, but
Hmm.
we're like, let's just gut check this with our core audience. And then you invite a few of them through email.
Hmm.
We'd love to get your thoughts. And then you think something is like amazing, and the customer's like, I don't get it. You're
I don't
like,
even want this.
okay.
They're like, I don't even want this. What are you doing?
You're like, back to the drawing board. And then you tweak it and you relaunch it, and they love it. And it's because you leverage that channel
Yeah.
as well to do it. But I also love like organic social because it's a great way to tell your same brand story, but in another medium.
Hmm.
That could be a bit more relaxed because how you show up in each channel is sometimes a bit different. So you can show a bit more of your brand personality, whether it's TikTok versus Instagram as well,
Hmm.
and how you engage with your audience. I always like to say like Instagram is like your professional resume, and like TikTok's where you really
Like where
show
you can
who you
have fun
are.
and dance and
Exactly. The stuff you can't do there, you do it there. And then customers relate to it, as long as it still has to be on brand as well.
yeah. One thing you pointed out that I really want to hone into as well is the surveys, right? Because our customers, they love having a voice. And if you give them the voice, they feel like they're a part of your brand story. And that allows them to become brand advocates of yours, right? Once they're brand advocates, they want to support and do whatever you need them to do in order for, to get whatever you need from them, the ROI that you need from them. So I think a lot of retail brands need to hone into that more is talk to your customers, see what they want. Stop creating stuff that you don't really have them in mind, right? You're not conversing with them on a regular basis. So thank you for pointing that out for sure.
Yeah. Yeah,
One,
absolutely. And especially your best customers, your VIP,
mhm,
like they've probably been with you since the beginning. So they've seen the evolution and
mhm,
they always have something incredibly thoughtful and intentional to tell you about your brand as well. And
yeah,
also they feel seen as well. So I think always talk to your customer, especially because the world is evolving so much and their needs might be different. I think, we live in a world right now where people are very conscious about their spend.
yeah,
So oftentimes when you're conscious about your spend as a consumer, when you buy something, you're like, I need this item to now work a lot harder for me. So
mhm,
from a messaging perspective, you might say, you know what? Maybe for this blazer, we need to do some content, even though it's on the pricier side and it's great quality. We can show the customer how to wear it casually, how in a business environment, how you can wear it with a dress, how you can do it like this, how you can do it like that. Because
mhm.
then the customer's like, oh, I can wear this like 10 different ways. So it's worth its value in wear as well.
Got it. Now, if you had to work with an upcoming retail brand, right? They have no marketing, they have no systems in place. What would be the first thing you would come in and do, right? What's the first thing they should look at? And then kind of how would you take them through that journey of getting more sales or connecting more with their ICP, their customer?
Yeah, I would first start with who is your core customer. Like that has to be crystal clear. And if that's not clear, defining that and then making sure that your brand positioning and messaging supports it. I
Okay.
always say if the message isn't clear, then no one's going to know who you're talking to.
Hmm.
And once you fix all of that, I always say then we focus on the foundational elements, the unsexy stuff that really grows your brand.
Okay.
So, meaning like, building the strategy to support the business goals and then building out all of your tactics. So, for email, building out all your welcome series, all of your automations, because those things should just be running on the back end. It's developing the strategy for your other channels, your social channels. If you're on multiple channels, what are the different pillars and how you show up on each of them? Also, building out a marketing calendar for this season. I always say you should know what's happening in your brand from a marketing perspective for the next few weeks. Nothing should be always reactionary. There are things in retail that's going to be a reaction, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
a great example might be, you know, there was an award show that happened, and there was, someone, an actress that won an award, and the dress that they wore, you sell that dress. Well, then that next morning at 8 a.m., there should be an email coming out saying, guess what? We sell that dress. We
Yeah.
sell those shoes, right? It's
Yeah.
capitalizing, there's urgency. But you should understand the business and the seasonality and what your sales goal and plan are, and start building out all of your content depending on the size of your brand. Some of them, if you're a huge entity, you need to be at least 3 months out because you're doing so many different things. But the brands that I work with, I try to be at least a month out, because we know, okay, this week we're going to focus on that, that week we're going to focus on that, and make sure all of your marketing channels are, marching to the beat of one drum, I like to say.
Hmm.
Don't talk about red shoes and email, but then when I go here, you're talking about umbrellas. They don't talk to each other,
Hmm.
right? Like, how do you get in a campaign mindset oftentimes and start building your content around that? Because then the customer sees it multiple times and then they're like, oh,
I
I keep
remember.
seeing that. So let me go to this website and check this out.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's how do you make your marketing work a bit more strategically for you versus it being in so many different places. And also when you start working that way, your team is a lot more confident as well.
Yeah.
Because then your team knows exactly what the goals are, what ladders up to goals, what the focus is on, and everyone's working together towards the same goal.
You know what, as a founder and as someone that knows a lot of founders or CEOs of retail brands, right? We can't do it all ourselves. A lot of that stuff we're not even thinking about. We're thinking about whatever we're strong at, right? So I think it's a good way to, how do we know when we should bring someone in like you in order to just take over our marketing and to kind of like help us grow with that? When is the best way? Like, what is the pain point where they're like, oh, you need some help?
Yeah. So for me, the brands I work well with and I'm able to give them the most impact, you're past the startup phase and hustling phase, right? You're past it's just me and I'm going to do everything. You're the person that's packing the boxes, you're writing the captions, you're designing the email, you're shooting, you're past that point, and you have a small team in place. But
Okay.
your team is strong at executing, executing, executing. But you're like, there's no one that's seeing the bigger picture here.
Mm.
We're doing a lot of the same things, but let's say we're not growing at the rate we want to. We're not selling either more items. The customers, we're not growing their basket size over time. We're getting a lot of one and done customers as well. So that's when you bring in someone like me who's able to pull out and say, okay, what is the bigger picture of what we're trying to do? And
Mm.
oftentimes, sometimes when I come in, I always remind people marketing supports the business goals, not the other way around.
Hmm.
Marketing does not fix problems, it exposes problems.
Yeah.
So if your business goal isn't clear, marketing will never achieve what you're looking for it to achieve.
Listen, I think that could relate to so many industries, right? Because I think a lot of times the
Yeah.
founder or the CEO, we want sales, right? It's like, okay, I'm bringing you in so you could do our sales. But it's not a, it reacts to the sales. But if your sales system
Hmm.
is not in place, if your messaging is not right, it doesn't matter
Yes,
what the marketer does, it's still not going to
it
go.
won't.
So
It's
I
not
think,
going to go.
yeah. So
Yeah,
I think you have to come in knowing how things work, how systems
right,
work, and then have a clear picture of what's possible when you bring someone
right.
like you in, you know?
Right. And also making sure the product is strong as well.
Yeah.
Again, marketing works really well when you have an awesome product.
Mm.
Marketing exposes when you do not have an awesome
That's
product,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
I can think about a time I worked on a brand and we launched something new and
Okay.
all the feedback was negative on all of the posts. And I was like, great, this was a wonderful focus group we just did.
Now it's out there.
Right. So
Yeah.
we cut the campaign, took all the feedback, shared it with the merchandising team, and they were like, oh, this is really great feedback. Now we're going to improve on the product. And then when they improved on the product, marketing was like, great, now we're going to actually design a campaign to really boost this up that really supports it. And
Yeah.
then it was successful afterwards. So making sure your business goals are clear, the product is strong as well.
hold on, that goes into saying before you even release a product, you should be doing a survey with a small group to get feedback before you launch anything, right? And I think video is
Hmm.
great for that too. How do you get insights
Yeah,
and feedback you can have internally in order to
right,
make better products, to understand your customer better, and then do the amazing campaign that you want to do to amplify
right,
it out to the masses,
right.
you know?
Right. And then once those things are in a great place, then we start building our marketing strategy and
Okay.
coming up with what our goals and objectives are and being super clear on that and then building out the plan that then supports that. But at that point, it's you've already got your systems created to
Hmm.
support it. So we can't build out this long email cadence to support a campaign, but your automations aren't built,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? We
Yeah.
can't launch a big, paid media campaign, but we can't clearly capture you on our website, right?
Yeah.
So all the systems need to be in place at that point, and then the strategy is built, and then it's broken down to the channel perspective, and then all of the channels need to work together cohesively because it's got to be a frictionless customer journey. But not just that, the website experience, making sure it supports the campaign. So,
Yeah.
as an example, if you're running a big campaign on these new water bottles we launched, when I land on your homepage, I better see that water bottle somehow, right? It has to be
I came
somewhere.
here for the water bottle.
Don't make me work. I want to spend money. And that's another thing. Don't make your customers work to give you their money.
Mm.
Make it easy.
Make it easy. If you're saying
That's
something,
why that's why we buy on Amazon all the time, right? Buy now, done, right? How do
ah,
we reduce the clicks across the customer journey? How
yeah.
do we make sure, like when I'm shopping on a website, oh, what is this item made of? What is the material? I need to know. If it's not there, now you're saying I have to talk to your chat bot to ask them the material. Just tell it to me. Just tell me. Or
Mm.
I'm a taller person, so I need to know how tall is this model? Because this dress is really short on her. So if I'm like 2 inches shorter than this person, now it's going to be a little too, So sometimes
Mm.
things that might be so small to you as a consumer, you're like, I need to know all this stuff.
Yeah.
So putting as much as product description, that makes sense for your brand, your shipping policies, your return policies, right? And it
Mhm.
also helps you from an SEO perspective
Okay.
and boost your brand, but then it also reduces people sending emails to you with
Yeah.
things that you can easily answer on your website as well.
And this is why we bring people like you in, right? Because you have an outside eye. Because you know, when you're in it, when you're in your retail brand, you're just in it, right?
Yeah.
You can't really see outside of what you're
Yeah.
doing. And I think that's why it's crucial to have someone like you come in to kind of just lay it all out and really put in systems. Because what you're doing is putting in systems in place so that
Processes. Yeah.
yeah, so things can kind of move forward, you know?
Yeah. I always say processes, like a lot of things, you should not have to think about it. If you need an email design, oftentimes I'll say we need a creative briefing process.
Hmm.
And it should be the same every single time. And then we have our timelines for when we're going to see it, sign off on it, and when it deploys. But ultimately, at the center, I always work from a customer centric point of view.
Okay.
What experience are you creating for your customer? I think about promotional offers. If I don't understand this offer and I work here and I understand your brand and your product, guess who's not going to understand it?
Customer. Or no
Right?
one. No one. You don't even
No
understand. You're the one
one.
that created it. What is happening?
I've worked on brands where we're like, this sale sounds awesome. And then the store is like, it was so confusing. We had to use the calculator to calculate prices for customers. And we're like, oh my God, you guys were doing calculations instead of selling. And then we had to revamp the entire. So if you have a store, also talk to associates.
Okay.
Because in marketing, you're like, this looks great. This looks good.
Hmm.
It's easy to execute on e-commerce with a promo code. And then in store, the poor associates are like
Doesn't translate.
struggling because the consumer is confused and they're confused, right? So you got to think about the entire picture
Yeah.
and the customer because you can't say, I'm doing a sale on all blue clothing. And the store is like, every brand has blue. I can't do this. You want me to rearrange my entire store and put all blue clothes together? That doesn't work.
So I
It's
guess,
easy for online, right? You just make a product, blue, everything's blue in it.
yeah, yeah. So I guess it's about making it everything more simple and easy for the workers, for the
And the customers,
customer,
yeah.
and for your team, you know.
Right. And then you can drive more revenue and then focus on, really growing the brand and doing the most important intentional things. And then the other thing is once campaigns are done, what did it do? What happened? What worked? What didn't work? And what are we going to do?
Mhm.
So postmortems, many of the brands that I've worked with, they oftentimes they're so busy, right? They're like, we're trying to get to the next thing. And I'm like, well, we got to look at what worked or didn't work so we can
Like, no.
implement it. And
Yeah.
then you start learning a lot of things and you're like, okay, we need to pump the brakes on this and incorporate this
Mm.
and then go from there. Or another key time is like we're getting into many brands are already planning Black Friday and Cyber Monday. You
Hmm.
better believe from a marketing perspective, you had to look at what happened last year before you even planned
Hmm.
because you got so many great learnings out of it. Things like, oh, we should have started this campaign a lot earlier last year because competitively everyone was out there and we're like 2 weeks later. So
Mm.
then your sales were softer because the customer was somewhere else ready to buy and you lost market share during that week. You lost revenue. So it's always looking at your data from the last year as well. What are the learnings, but also seeing how you're trending for the year and what the customer is doing.
Oh, I love that. Because I think that
Yeah.
can relate to any type of brand, retail brands, tech brands. Is pretty much you need to understand your data, understand how your campaigns are working in order to make better decisions, you know?
Yeah. If it didn't
Um,
work then, why are we doing it again
why are
again?
we doing
Remind
it
me.
again? Because you don't want to do the research to really understand what's working, what's not.
What's changed that it's going to
What's
work this time?
changed?
But I think a really great thing, an example, is QR codes.
Mhm.
Remember before the pandemic, I was like QR
No
codes.
one
Ugh.
wants to scan.
Like to me,
Yeah.
QR codes has had the biggest glow up in the last 5 years.
Listen, they have. It's everywhere now. But you know what?
I
The thing
went to a
about that,
restaurant. I said, "Where's your QR code? I could just scan it." They're like, "Oh, that's over there. Thank you." Like,
but you know, one thing I've noticed with QR codes is because they're everywhere. A lot of times because no one wants to scan anymore, just because you're not really bringing attention to why they need to scan your QR code, right? If it's just a QR
mm,
code there, it's just like, okay, I see those all the time, like it's a menu or
yeah,
something.
you gotta
But
tell
I think
them.
retailers have to, especially retail brands, be clear on why they should scan it. Are they going to get 20% off? Are they going to be featured on your website? Something that drives them to want to
Or create
scan,
a video to show
create a
us your
video.
testimonial.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
you're right.
Something to drive
Yeah.
them, you know?
I always say you have to tell people what you want them to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes people chuckle, but they're like, you're right.
Mhm.
Like we are bombarded by so many
Yes.
images. We're doing so many different things. We're moving at the speed of light. And like, I need you to tell me what you want me to do with this so that I can do it.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's simple things, like I saw an email once and I was like, where do I click? Here, here, here. But that part's not clickable, but it should be clickable. And I
Mm.
just left. I was like, you're making it harder for me to engage with you. So don't underestimate the simple things because sometimes it's the simple things that's going to cost you sales as well.
Mm.
I got
Okay.
an email that wasn't clickable. I was like, why is this not clickable? So now you're telling me I have to go
Lost
type in
you.
your website to
Mhm.
get,
I
I
lost
really
you.
don't need this
Right? You
item at
lost
this
the
point.
customer.
I just saved money.
Okay, with that being said, what would you say would be your last takeaway that you would give a retail brand? Or even maybe even better, right? What would be a takeaway you would give an upcoming marketer that wants to get into the retail space? What would you tell them?
I would tell them always be customer centric. It's not about you.
Mm,
Remove yourself from the equation, and it's the customer and what the customer is looking for. I always say your core customer always needs to have a seat at your decision-making table.
okay. Okay.
It's, is this going to make their life easier? Is this going to make your life difficult? Sometimes a brand might make a decision saying, oh, well, this is better for us. And then they don't see the sales. I'm like, well, you made it better for you
Mm-hmm.
from this perspective,
Made it
right?
harder. Yeah.
Right. So make sure the customer is always at the center of your decision because the brands that do really well, it's because they're always thinking about their customer, whereas they're looking at the data, they're looking at how their customer's behaving, they're looking at what they're buying, they're looking at the trends, right? Just
Mm.
because a trend is out there doesn't mean it's going to apply to your customer. If you know that, like, your customer, you're in a market where it's always warm and it's all about leather, don't maybe buy leather because your customer is like, what am I going to do with this? I can't wear this in my
I live in
life, right?
Hawaii. It's hot all the time out here. What's going on?
Right? But maybe it's something else within that trend, right? That makes sense. Maybe it's a leather accessory or maybe it's something else. So I always say, as a marketer, the ones that are really, really good and strong, they're listening to the customer, using the data because they know that's how you build strong relationships with your customer at the end of the day. And strong relationships lead to good retention.
And that's what we want, right? We want them to come back and buy from us even,
Yeah,
and then tell their friends because they create a video testimonial of
correct.
how awesome this purchase was, how it
Yes,
changed my life. It all goes together,
yes.
you know?
Yeah, you don't want a leaky bucket. Think about a leaky bucket, and those are your customers. You plug one, another one comes out. You
Mm.
do not want leaky bucket syndrome in your brand.
Tasha, this has been amazing. You have shared so many gems, just
Yeah,
kind of more about the retail marketing space, how you can utilize video in that space, and pretty much what you want your ROI to be at the end. And that's not a leaky bucket, right? We want the retention,
right.
want people to come back. Can you please share where we can find you at, where we can connect with you, all that good stuff?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Tasha Blackman, blackmandigital.com. So blackmandigital.com is my website. You can contact me through there, or you can email me, Tasha at blackmandigital.com.
Awesome. And one last question I have as we end is
Yeah.
your song of the month. What's the song that's getting you through June and that
Oh
you've
my
been
gosh.
walking and that I
Oh
should
my God.
what a
Oh my
song.
God. So like I'm using like the DJ function on Spotify and I'm
Okay.
like, you're paying me the same songs. And it's like, Doug, you keep listening to the same songs all the time.
Okay.
I'm really feeling the new Burna Boy album that's gonna come out. So there are
Oh,
4 tracks on it that's available right now.
okay.
They're all strong. So I've been listening to those 4 songs. So I can't
Okay.
wait till July until
Okay.
it comes out. So that's like my new thing. But like if I have like tell you my one always go-to song that makes me happy, it's Blow the Whistle. Too short.
Stop. Stop. You don't have today. Don't say this. You're gonna get me
My friend is like, look, they're playing your song at a retirement home. I was like, that's gonna be me.
started.
What's your favorite word?
You guys, I might insert this song in here just so you get a snippet of Blow the Whistle.
But that has always been my song, like always, no matter what. But like
Love
my
it.
friends make fun of me. They're like, blow the
Listen,
whistle.
we're welcoming you to the Bay Area. So that when you come, we'll play that song loud for you and we'll dance all day with that song.
Listen, he got like another rise of that song during the Super Bowl,
I know,
right?
I know, I
It's just
know.
one of those songs that it works for everything,
It does. And
everything. But
it's the
yeah.
energy and it just gets you going, just
Yeah.
yeah.
You got a job interview, blow the whistle, you know? You're feeling down, blow the whistle. You know, you're feeling good, blow the whistle.
So your campaign went amazing. Blow the
Blow the
whistle.
whistle.
Got a video testimonial. Blow the
Blow the
whistle.
whistle.
This has been amazing. Thanks so much
You're
for
welcome.
sharing all the deets and for giving so much great information. I'm still laughing. So,
Blow the
um,
whistle. Yeah.
I cannot wait for I would love to have another conversation just to dig into
Yes.
retail marketing in that space. But thank you
Absolutely.
so much. I appreciate
You're
you.
welcome.
Awesome.
Cool.